It's a good morning to you. Welcome to Asake Online. My name is Zenzele Ndebele, and this is the Breakfast Club. Every day we bring you good news, bad news, information, but there's a lot to talk about in our program today, which is a program that we'll be bringing every Friday. We will be unpacking COVID. We are talking to people. We have gone through the COVID phase. Okay, we have survived COVID. We want to know from them how did they discover, what was it like, what are the lessons that they've learned, how has it changed their lives. We're also going to be talking to medical experts and other people in the field to just have an understanding, because I've realized that there's still lots of misconceptions when it comes to COVID-19. There are some people who still think that COVID is a foreign concept, or it's a theory. It doesn't exist. It's there to kill people deliberately. We've heard so many stories about vaccines and the funny messages that people circulate on WhatsApp. What I can tell you from experience is that COVID is real. I'm one of the people who survived COVID in November. I know how it feels, but I want to get other people to share their experiences so that we see how the journey has been like. And today in our program, we'll be talking to Zifiso Masiye, who has also recovered from COVID, and we want to know from him how it was like and what you can learn from him. Masiye, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, you recently recovered from COVID. Oh, you're still going through the process. I mean, how was it like?
Well, I would say it was perhaps the most horrible experience of my life. From about the 10th of December, I picked up some symptoms of flu. At the beginning, my feeling was that I had a bout of flu, or at worst, a fever. And this developed in the next 4 or 5 days to a situation where I was feeling incontinent, where I was feeling breathless, where just the smallest exertion of energy would just sap me and leave me so drained. With time, I began to lose taste. I began to lose smell. Eventually, I couldn't sustain a conversation. I couldn't sustain like a telephone conversation for 3, 4, 5 minutes. I would feel so breathless. I was like sinking in my breath. So I asked my wife to take me to a doctor on the 16th of December. And the doctor told me, look, these symptoms suggest that you may be positive. You can test if you want to, but I can proceed and give you the remedies without you having to test. I insisted on the test, and the test was positive. So naturally, my wife asked that she too be tested. And she was tested. She turned out to be positive. We were terrified. I already have lots of my own underlying conditions. I was involved in a horrible accident sometime 2008 that crushed my lungs. And my lungs took a long time to build. And every cold season, I feel that I've something amiss in the lungs, in the chest. So I always fear that any infection of this kind of condition, COVID, would take my life. So when the doctor told me that I was positive, my first thought was that this is it. I'm dying. I just looked at my wife. I didn't know how to communicate it to her, because the doctor told me in private. But when she too turned out to be positive, it was a family horror now. The doctor counseled us. He gave us a very strong jab, an antibiotic, and that whole regimen of antibiotics and zinc tablets, vitamin C tablets, and advised us to get home, isolate, and ensure that the rest of the family is probably tested, and we follow the protocols. He gave us the normal COVID protocols. the food that we must eat, the diet, the hot meals, and the advice that, look, you are going to have a lot of expressions of different kinds of diseases. Carry on with the medication for the flu, for the headaches, and other things. This is a condition that reduces the immunity of the body. It enables whatever has been underlying to be more impactful, to be more dangerous to you. So what you are doing is to try and boost the immune system. There is no cure for COVID. We are only boosting the immune system. So carry on with the other remedies. So we carried on with the remedies for flu, even the traditional concoctions, ufuta, the steaming. We carried on with all that. The garlics, the mad lemons, the different concoctions that you get from our traditional kind of remedies. We carried on using that. So the following day, we sent in the rest of the family to go and test. Unfortunately, one of my kids, my last born daughter, also turned out to be positive. She had been very close to me from that day when I think I had picked it up. She's the one that had been nursing me, helping me out. She turned out to be positive. So three of us in the family were positive. So we had to quarantine ourselves. We literally divided the house into two. Luckily, we have a fairly sizable house. We stayed behind a screen door and we isolated and followed the protocols. The good thing is if there's three of you, you're helping each other all the time, you're supporting each other. If someone hasn't taken their tablets, you help them, you're asking each other, how are you feeling? That kind of thing. And luckily, the daughter that was not positive happens to be a chef. So we were almost in some kind of hotel. She was treating us to very good meals. She would prepare the meals, ring the bell by the screen door to tell us that breakfast is ready. We pick up the meals. We use our own plates. We didn't share utensils. We didn't share rooms. We didn't share the couches, all the equipment in the house. The children that were not infected used their own part of the house. They used their own utensils. We used our own. The condition itself was not consistent. Sometimes I would wake up completely incontinent without strength. You'd feel like perhaps this is really announcing the end. And you find that your wife is much better. The child has got a different kind of ailment. But I think what supported us was that we were supporting each other as a family. And we told our colleagues, we told our friends, we told the rest of the family, we told our neighbors, and everyone was coming and was sending us supportive messages. We told the church, we go to different churches. We told our churches, and the pastors were sending in their prayers. Our fellow congregants were sending in prayers. People would phone in and say, look, I've got this Msuzwane, I've got Zumbani, I've got fruits that I need to come and help you with. They'll come and drop stuff by the gate and phone us to tell us to pick up this. I brought you supplies. And that kind of a strong support, I think, helped us a lot. We prayed a lot, and the family and the friends and the church was praying for us. So we tended to have confidence in the feeling that we were with the people. And the fact that we announced and were so open about it tended to attract a lot of support. And incidentally, you would find that in your inboxes, so many people either were undergoing the same condition or had undergone it quietly. I think there's some social stigma around this COVID thing.
Yeah. You're talking about the social stigma. I tested positive in November myself, and we as an organization we released a statement. Because I was not the first to test positive. There was one person who tested positive. We released the statement. Then we went for testing. But for some reason, you end up having people coming to your inbox saying, "Are you the one who have tested positive?" And you have someone who has not talked to you in years, just checking on you. Then there are those who would have seen you the day before the statement. They get to be even more worried because they are calling you not because they want to check you, because they are trying to diagnose themselves.
Exactly.
Did you have that situation, the stigma that is associated?
Very, very, very much. People are terrified. They don't want it associated with them. So just to put it out there, to say this is the condition that I'm in, terrifies anyone that is known to you, that has been close to you. They don't know how to treat it. It generates different sentiments. Some people are actually angry with you. You get questions like, why in the first place did you have to test?
Yeah.
So why are you telling people? Having found yourself positive, why did your wife have to test? Why did you have to send the children to test? Or some people are telling you in your inbox that, look, my own family is going through the same problem. But my thing is, this is a virus. And the way it moves is by way of communicating, by way of interacting between human beings who are interacting every day. If you have got COVID and you happen not to tell the next person, what it means is we are all in danger. And the simplest way of dealing with it is for us to be open about it. Because there's no stigma for me about it. This is just a virus that is moving around. If you have got it, there's a potential that the next person that you are meeting is going to catch it. So you would rather simply alert people, this is my condition, they give you support, and they immediately take steps to protect themselves. So there are people that I had been interacting with around that period. I immediately did my own contact list and made sure to call each one of them. I was at a workshop that I believe may have been a super spreader. I talked to the organizers and told them, this is my condition, and I suspect that this thing, if I didn't pick it from there, that's where it actually exploded. Could you please advise everyone that came to that workshop? They assured me that they would do that. I was tempted to actually go to the hotel where this conference was, but I thought maybe the organizers are going to be doing that part. But the amount of fear, when our people are scared, rather than come out and talk about the fear collectively, everyone wants to withdraw into their own cocoon and deal with it quietly. And I think that's the most dangerous thing about our community.
Yeah, I find that I've heard so many stories, and it affects people differently.
Yeah.
Probably when I listen to other people, I discover that maybe I was that lucky that I didn't, become so seriously sick. But what worried me was when each time I was sleeping, I would be reading about that. And what worried me the most was shortness of breath. So I went to a friend who borrowed me an oximeter, and which I'll eventually, when each time I felt pain, I'll put in and test my oxygen levels.
Uh-huh.
Because she had said, the moment you go below 93, you're in trouble, seek medical help. So I would test and see 97. Then I say, no, I'm fine. And it gave me the peace of mind. What were your worst moments, and how did you go past that?
Well, I'm an avid reader of the news. Every day I'd been following CNN, particularly COVID-19 and the statistics from Europe and so forth. We don't have comparative statistics in Zimbabwe, in Africa. But I would be talking to my family, I would be talking to friends and to civil society about COVID statistics. I was some kind of a silent COVID advocate myself. But from the moment I was diagnosed, the news seemed to terrify me in a different way.
Definitely.
Because now it's
Yeah.
not statistics. Now it's not neighbors, it's you. And it felt so different. So just watching the CNN news and that column of stats horrified me, such that we simply agreed, the three of us, to switch off the COVID news for a while. So you respond in a different way when it's you.
Yeah.
It's not theoretic anymore. It's practical, and it's you. And the possibility of you going is really live. Unfortunately, during those 14 days, we lost perhaps 4 very close family friends, people that before I contracted this disease were much stronger than me. People that I'd been talking to on the phone, that would be telling me that I'm going through this thing, but I think I'm over the hill now. I'm surviving. The next day, you get a call that they are gone. So that really terrifies you. That even on the day you're feeling better, you're not sure if it's a sign of that you're coming out of it. It might be the end. So all those issues, we're trying to close ourselves from the bad news. You'd get people saying, this happened during the time you guys were in a bad situation. We didn't tell you because we didn't want to horrify you. So you need a lot of support. You need a strong social system around you. You need good friends. You need positive friends. I remember I had to leave a number of social groups that are not too supportive, that are throwing in careless talk about COVID, about death. And I felt like I was at the receiving end of comments that were not even intended for me. So we decided, no, some of these groups, just leave them.
You know, you mentioned CNN. I stopped watching CNN because, you know, you wake up with, 2,500 people. It was the worst day.
Yeah.
And you're saying, okay, I have this thing,
Yeah.
you know, and someone, and then the WhatsApp groups as well, you know, where people will be just saying, COVID, and you can't say, but guys, this thing is real.
Yeah.
And what happened to me was that during that time, I mean, I approached differently. My parents are now a bit old, about BP and what. So I said, if I tell them, they might, get in shock. So let me see how it goes.
Yeah.
If I get worse, I'll then tell them.
Yeah.
Then we lost an aunt. She died here in Bulawayo. And because many people in South Africa, I'm the only one who's here. I was supposed to be part of the funeral arrangements. Now I was now supposed to tell them
Exactly.
the reason why I can't go to the funeral and arrange everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the most difficult thing because the majority, and the COVID,
Yeah. Yeah.
So they've lost a relative, and now I'm now telling them you are also likely to bury me after this one. So it became something.
Exactly.
Else,
I was talking to your sister the other day that called to ask me to come and assist her with her mom. The sister to the mother had lost a child in a horrible murder, I think. It was in the news. This boy was taken out of the outskirts of the city, I think, to Solusi or something, and killed. So it was a horrifying incident in the family. And the old woman wanted to be there immediately and wanted to go and stay at the funeral wake. And my sister was terrified that with this COVID peaking, the old woman is close to around 80. If she goes there and stays, she's going to be so exposed. So how can I stop her? She tried to say, I'll be driving you every day to go and talk to your sister. And the attitude was, where's this good team? Do you realize what to low temper mean? If it's COVID, that's going to kill me there. It might as well. That's the attitude of our people. That's the attitude of all people. So she had to go to that funeral wake and stay a week, 2 weeks. They're going to be sitting on that mattress surrounding Umamo Ferre. And this small room will be filled with 30, 40 women. They're crying. So the funerals, in my view, the funeral wakes have become the potentially biggest super spreader. and the culture and the science of the disease are clashing, because our people want to interact. It is the African way of doing business. We need to meet face to face. We need to shake hands. We need to, so particularly where you have got funerals and these very emotionally charged African events, to talk about a mask, you're joking. People will have a mask for an hour or so. As they proceed with the conversation, with the function, they throw away the mask. We went to a funeral wake with my wife in Luveve there, when my grandmother died. We're the only ones in a crowd of 60, 70 with masks on. And you could see the eyes and the kind of talk. So you think you have money. So you won't even spend 15 minutes with that mask on, because you are simply off track. Eventually, you have to rip your mask off and join everyone else. So people are killing themselves in this. You try and speak up, and the crowd simply drowns you. So the level of disbelief, the level of denial within the communities is absolutely shocking. So you've got those dynamics that really pull the whole attempt to stop this thing, exploding. And then you've got the situation where you are terrified by the level of preparedness of the institutions. Like you're saying, the moment you get more and more breathless, and you know that at some point I might need oxygen that is not available in the home. I might need a ventilator that's not available outside hospitalization. And you check the availability of ventilators in our institutions. Then you realize that you are so close to death. Because as soon as that thing tips over, as soon as you need hospitalization, the potential for death rises from 50 to 90%.
You are talking about hospitalization, and which is, for me, is like, I really don't know how to put it, but we had a year or so, months to prepare. And up to now, we don't have institutions that are ready to accept COVID patients. And for me, when I went to take the results, I went to a lab. The assistant just gave me an envelope. No explanation, no counseling. I found out on my own, to say, okay, so now I'm COVID positive, after having gone through, because there are necessary details. Then the last sentence is SARS what positive. And you start thinking, okay, if I get sick, where do I go? So was there a situation where you asked yourself to say, where do I go?
Exactly. I keep saying to people, we are really on our own as citizens. And the level of incapacity of government, of council, of the health institutions is shocking. We might have access to a few facilities, perhaps because you may be better off than the rest of the community. But the rest of the community is so vulnerable, is so exposed, is scary. Life seems so short and brutish when you think of it. A sister called me a couple of nights ago from Bill Hospital, and she said, "Budzi, would you have a can of oxygen? I need oxygen." It was late in the evening. Where do I get oxygen? I don't even know that is tradable at an individual level. I started panicking and asking friends, where do I get oxygen? They said BOC, but it's late, it's closed. We started looking for someone who could access us oxygen. I gave it up and said, in the morning, I'm going to try again. But I was too late. By 3 a.m., I received a message that she was dead. So the institutions are simply not ready. I was watching the other day, the mayor was talking about receiving a ventilator from his counterpart in Harare and saying this brings to 4 the number of ventilators that we have got at the COVID center. What is it called?
Dongrove.
Yeah? 4. We have a population of close to 1 million people.
Yeah, if you just look at the active cases in Bulawayo now, it could be over
exactly
500.
So what does that mean? So in terms of the institutional capacity and the level of the authorities to handle this, we're simply out. So what I've been saying is we must realize as a community that we are on our own. And therefore, what should we do? Because there's the point at which we must point fingers at government and advocate and whatever and scream. But right now, the disease is happening and people are dying. And at the same time, we might have our own local remedies, helping each other, communicating as a community to say, so and so has got it. How do we support them? How do we help each other? And I believe Veluti Ufuta Konoko does a good 50% of the job. And we did that 3 times every day. Just putting a hot rock into a baguette and letting the steam come out. We used eucalyptus sometimes. It produces lots of steam. We used gum tree. We used msuzwane. All sorts that people were recommending. We did a lot of that. And after it, you'd feel the relief on your body. You'd get a nice, calm sleep. So it's just the effect. Someone was telling me that scientifically, it's impossible for it to kill the virus. They've got some scientific explanation to it. And I was saying, to hell with that. Don't tell the community that. Those are discouraging people. Yet, Ufuta itself has got many other effects around reducing. The one, it would get me so calm. And I could feel this thing has helped me. And people were suggesting, and these things are available to anyone. You don't have to have any money or to food.
Yeah, because Ogunye is therapy and it's also like it's like faith. You know what at home I was the only one with COVID. So I had my own little room.
Yeah.
So every time I'm sitting here, so one chest eucalyptus. So my son will always say, Daddy, I think the clothes, the blankets, it was a eucalyptus and also the plantation or a pharmacy of some sort. But it gave some, assurance, because after that, especially if your chest or the flu is congested, you really feel, the soothing part of it. And I really agree with you that it might not be scientific, but it provides immediate relief.
Exactly.
Because when the flu,
exactly.
Yeah.
Because this thing actually works a lot with your mind.
Yeah.
It does tricks to your mind. And what you need is some level of calmness, some level of positive thinking. So anything that can calm you down. A good conversation.
Yeah.
Anything. No, I took this thing. When the mind believes it works, somehow the body wants to respond. So you need a positive attitude, you need positive company, you need those social remedies. But on their own, perhaps they're not enough. So you need that family of antibiotics. And I keep saying to people that say, I got a negative, but I've got the symptoms. And I ask them, what do you lose? By telling your doctor to give you medication as if you were positive. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Because you get lots of false negatives. And you've got people that are feeling the symptoms, but they're terrified of going to test for a reason or another. Some will tell you, I got Ura and whatever. It's $20 for your life. And I say to them, fine, if you don't want to test and you are feeling the symptoms, there's nothing to lose by going through, by getting those antibiotics, by Ufuta, by all those concoctions that we use until you feel better.
Yeah. There is I've talked to other people who have had COVID and they've said, you know what, COVID made me see things differently. It has changed my life and my priorities. So you are there, you are sick, and you are, you're deleting other people in your life. You are saying, this is what I want to do. What were the things that, how has that affected you as a person, what you went through and how you see life now?
I think collectively and individually, this is a very humbling, very, very humbling experience. Perhaps it's like going to war. I didn't go to war. When you cross that terrain and you've walked through the bullets and you have seen people falling and you have no reason why you didn't fall yourself, Asokuhlakanipha kwakho that you survived. I'm talking about a sister who died yesterday. Asokuhlakanipha kwami or my family ukuthi we survived. So the first thing that it does is to simply humble you and show you how absolutely vulnerable and how absolutely exposed you are, and how much of the next person you need in life. I think when we come out of here, we will be either of two things. Either we'll be so terrified that we want to retreat to our own cocoons, be selfish, like I'm talking about people that I hear are hoarding loads of oxygen in their homes. The attitude is, look, I'll use my money to create my own hospital at home. If there's no water, I'll get my own Jojo tank. If there is no Zesa, I'll get my own power at home. So that attitude has reduced our people to despicable, selfish citizens. People are saying, I'm going to get it on my own. We're either going to be that, or we're going to know how important it is for us to interact with the next person and ensure that the neighbor is okay and the next neighbor is okay. So it brings you to a point where you want to know how the next person is feeling and how you want to help. So I find myself going through my phone and with so many requests, Budzi, how did you deal with this? And I've got to pray for them. I tell my wife, there's so and so, she reads there and she's got this problem and she wants help. It makes you want to do a lot more for society. It makes you see that you're not here as an individual. You are here as part of a community, and for that community to survive, you must play some part. So I'm very happy for this opportunity. From that time, I started writing, talking to friends, and trying to say, do not put your suffering to waste. If you have suffered, let at least the next person learn from your suffering and perhaps survive from your suffering. For me, that's the greatest learning we got from Jesus Christ. We survived because he died. So that's the kind of perception that it brought to me, that let me help the next person to see life in a more positive way, to survive from my own experience.
There are some people there's a time when and when that COVID strikes, this is where you realize that we've seen people with money dying.
Exactly.
And at that time, it's not your money, it's not your intelligence, it's the work of God, or you have nothing to do. You just say, okay, I'll take each day as it comes. And you hear people saying, day 5 is the most dangerous. Others saying the first 3 days are the worst. And it does something to your brain.
Yeah.
It's
an equalizer. It came to show us, to tell the world that you are not better than the next person. Yeah. Look at what's happening in Europe. Look at what's happened to America. And look at the resource capacity of the West versus Africa. And look at the levels of they've got the infrastructure, they've got everything. And may all their souls rest in peace. I'm not suggesting that it's better off there than here, but it tells me some story. If it was not God, if it was not someone out there who's a leveler, that is saying you are not any better with all your money than the next person, then what is it? Because if it is operating the way we see it in the science and in the news and so forth, there shouldn't be an African living, because we simply don't have any resources. We don't have any capacity. What terrifies me right now is that if it were to explode the way it explodes, it exploded in America, in Italy, in Brazil, what would happen to Zimbabweans? We'll be jumping over dead bodies every morning, because we simply don't have the capacity. So there must be some power, I think, somewhere out there that is watching over us, the poor people.
Lastly, as we go to conclusion, how, I mean, you've like recovered to a large extent. You're out. You've done the 14 days, but how is the body? How do you, are you feel? Are you feeling like you are fine completely, or there are days when you feel like, yes, Windolog is back?
I don't think that the 14-day mark is your survival date. You might have survived the death, but I don't think that this thing goes away. There are days like now that I can talk to you and feel good. The following day, you may feel like you can't come out of bed. The exhaustions, you feel so incontinent. You can't move. You can't. The breath goes away. Sometimes I fail to have a conversation like I've had with you in the past 30 minutes or so. I feel that I've been working a lot after just an ordinary chat. So someone has said to me, it will take you 3 months. Someone has said maybe 6 months. I talked to my wife. She feels the same. I talked to my daughter. She's actually the worst of the three of us. She still has terrible stomach pains and the pains that I was experiencing during. She still feels those, even though she's gone beyond the 14 days. So I think it's a long haul recovery. It doesn't happen just like that. It takes time. So we are still recovering. I can't work. I sit in my office and try to respond to emails and whatever, and feel so drained. And ask myself, no, there's something still amiss in my body, and it's the remnants of this COVID thing.
Yeah, I find that the fatigue is just,
Yeah.
I was talking to friends just yesterday and saying, Madota Angwas, whether it's age or it's COVID, because there are times when I used to wake up early. I was an early person, but I cannot wake up at 4 or 5 these days.
Yeah.
It takes me time to wake up, and without 3 p.m. I'm wasted. And there are days when I'm okay. There are days when I feel like, the chest pains, they'll still be there. So I believe science, doctors still need to do a lot of study to say, how does COVID affect you? Whether it's mild symptoms or serious symptoms in the long term. Are we not likely to see people having organ failures because of those COVID, infections and all those kind of things? So we are grateful that we are alive, but we also need to know more about the effects of this condition on people. And finally, for someone who might be, going through COVID, whether they're sick or they think that they have symptoms and they're afraid to go and test, what can you say?
Well, in the first place, just what you were saying, I think it's a terrifying experience that you tend to be the pioneers. So the vehicle you're mending the tires as the car moves. You can't know what will happen. So if my body is failing me every other second, third day. Yesterday I spent the day sitting with guys that were doing something for me. I wasn't doing anything, I was just watching. At the end of the day, I came home. I felt so exhausted. I told my wife, it's as if I was doing the work myself. I slept like a log, just having been out. So that's a terrifying moment of yourself and your body and the future. You don't know what the after effects of COVID really are on your body. Am I going to operate as I used to? Or perhaps this is it. So finally, you're asking, my view is we need to carry a positive attitude in the first place. We need to be out there and communicate. In the first place, if you're feeling there's something amiss, simply go and test. I'm told there are services, government services where you can test for free. I went to a private doctor. It was only $20. There's nothing to lose by knowing that you are negative or positive. There's everything to gain for yourself, for your family, for the community, for the nation. The second thing is following the protocols that are given by the doctor, by friends, by the community, religiously. It's a whole lot of tablets. But when you are sick, you don't have the luxury of amaphilisi. Whatever, you really want to get well. So you just couple those things. And combine modern science with the traditional indigenous knowledge systems. There's a lot that our people have out there. They always dealt with flu symptoms and flu in their own ways. And I went to camp and talked to abadala banyipa imithi eminingi yesintu that deal with the flu, cold and so forth. That assisted in the process. So combine those two. 3, you need a powerful support system around you. You need a family that is supportive. They must know for them to be able to support you. You need a community of friends, colleagues that are also supportive. So to keep away the chaff, it gets you to a point where there are very unimportant ego-stroking issues that you've been pursuing in life that you seem to simply want to drop off and say, but what are the important things in life? Who is important to me? Who is not? So chop off the chaff and stay in the lane that is supportive to you and your system and your family. And just this whole attitude, I need to contribute to the next person. I'm part of a society and I shouldn't suffer in vain. Should help our people.
Thank you very much for this very informative talk. I know there are a lot of people right now who might be suffering from COVID, going through it. We have just recovered. Some are feeling the symptoms and they are afraid to go and test. I think you just need to help yourself by actually finding what is it that troubles you, because that will at least give you an assurance to know what you're fighting for. It's an easy fight for others because they never even have symptoms. It's quite difficult for others because they are hospitalized, or you're sick, you don't go to hospital. And unfortunately, others don't make it. And we've seen that in just a few days ago, yesterday, the day before, our numbers are around 20-something, 38 to die in a day. These are so many lives that could be, saved if only we could try by all means to minimize the unnecessary journeys, unnecessary meetings. Always make sure you try to protect yourself. It's so difficult when we have to go and queue for everything. But please wear your mask, sanitize, practice social distance. If you have no business in town, in gatherings, don't go. Avoid family weddings, family functions, because these are people that you know and you hardly wear a mask because we are so comfortable around our workmates, family and friends. Reduce the attending of funerals and go only when it's necessary. COVID is with us for quite a foreseeable future. We don't have the facilities, but we can stop the spread because this virus is only transported by people, by moving from one person and another. And if we can reduce the distance, then we'll also reduce the spread. My name is Zenzele Ndebele. And until I meet again on Friday when we are unpacking COVID and talking about other COVID-related issues, please stay safe and have a good day.
Basic information on COVID-19. How can one tell if they suspect it? The case definitions are based on the current information available and will be revised as new information accumulates. Suspect case. A patient with acute respiratory illness, fever, and at least one sign or symptom of respiratory disease. For example, cough, shortness of breath, and a history of travel to or residence in a country or area or territory reporting local transmission of COVID-19 disease during the 14 days prior to symptom onset. C. A patient with severe acute respiratory infection, fever, and at least one sign or symptom of respiratory disease. For example, cough, shortness of breath, and requiring hospitalization and with no other etiology that fully explains the clinical presentation. Confirmed case. A person with laboratory confirmation of COVID-19 infection irrespective of clinical signs and symptoms. The City of Bulawayo Health Services Department, HSD, requires your cooperation and assistance in ensuring that suspected cases are diagnosed early and necessary infection control measures and contact tracing are followed to prevent the spread of the disease.